but yeah, so I just want to sort of welcome everybody. I think I'm just going to record this, just so that we can share some Shakespeare and share how Shakespeare is still sort of important to us, or how he was important, and anything like that you want to celebrate the anniversary of his birth.
Might have died on the same day as his birthday, actually.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that is one of the things that's fun, and also because which is tomorrow, and so this is sort of like a day before the day that many people will celebrate as his birthday, April 23rd, which we do know is the day he died, and it's also St. George's Day, which is, I mean, the patron saint of England who fought the dragon, and so that's why it's sort of traditionally been given as his birthday as well. But it's also
my grandson's birthday is tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh.
Because he's 19 years old.
Oh.
Wow.
They call him William. Jackie, they call him William.
No, they call him Aiden. Aiden something, Theodore. No, I don't think he's something Aiden, something Margolis.
Yeah.
He's at the University of California.
Oh.
Wonderful.
USC.
Yeah, so many.
Been home online all the time. His first year at college, everything's home on computer.
But the fact that we do know about Shakespeare's birth is that his christening was on April 26th. So a lot of times it could be any time it was like before April 26th. So it very possibly could have been April 23rd. It could have been April 22nd. It could have been April 24th. But it's like, traditionally celebrated. There's a lot of really great things going on. I mean, there's a lot of really terrific Shakespeare offerings on tap online, and this is a way to sort of each of us get a chance to share some Shakespeare. And so I think I'll just I just want to sort of start off with just for my for the beginning. I think one of the best ways to begin is with Henry V. So I just want to start off with that. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling sin. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, gentles all, the flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France, or may we cram within this wooden oval the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon. Since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, and let us ciphers to this great accompt on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man and make imaginary puissance. Think when we talk of horses that you see them printing their proud hoofs in the receiving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carrying them here and there, jumping o'er time, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me coolest to this history, who prologue like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
well
you. Yeah.
done.
I just
Oh.
I mean, I just think it's such a great statement in that of like what theater is, you know, and I mean how live theater it works, that it works. It's an invocation of this sort of, I mean, relationship that you have, which is much different now that we're on Zoom, of like actor and audience and being there with someone, which I think, and we can all, I mean, remember from our performing them live in the library, what is sort of special, and in other places, what is special feeling that way. So I just, I think that's one of the reasons why that's one of my favorite pieces. And I was trying to do it in original pronunciation, but I kind of sort of lost it.
Yes,
It was pretty good.
I noticed. I
Pronunciation.
noticed.
John, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. You're muted right now, John. I can't hear you. I still can't, you're still muted, but
Down in the lower left, John.
yeah, well, anyways, so yeah, hopefully when you can get yourself unmuted with the microphone, then we can hear you. But yeah, we've got lots of, I mean, and I think that Shakespeare just also has so much to offer in a lot of ways. I mean, in a similar way that the Bible does, you know, of having really great stories and really things that can be significant and meaningful for people, but in a way that's even, I think, sort of more accessible. I mean, like some of my,
Like with any current event, you could go into Shakespeare and say, did he write something that applies?
yeah,
And he almost always did.
I
this is
think,
very true. I mean, it's like, I mean, with the Me Too movement, it's like, oh, gee, I wonder, did Shakespeare write any plays about that?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got, I mean, the prime example, of course, Measure for Measure, but in so many sorts of things, he really was dealing with these issues of the time, and in Hamlet and other characters, just was able to express so many great thoughts.
yes. Yes.
So, anyways, does anyone have anything else they'd like to, hopefully, Anna, you can get your things working. If anybody's got some Shakespeare they'd like to share.
I was waiting for Michael. We're going to do a scene from Richard III.
Oh.
Richard and Elizabeth.
When they get here, when he gets here.
Where is Michael?
Yeah, well,
Where
I'm
is
sure
Mike?
he'll
Gotten
get
her
there,
yet.
but Morna, did you say that you had something you wanted to do?
Well, I had the 3 interviews with William Shakespeare taken at 3 different stages of his career. And the one
Ah,
was a lot when Tempest. I would either do that one, which is kind of on the end of the
oh, yeah.
or I could do all 3 at different times. Like do the first one, then let somebody else go, and then I can do the second one and somebody else go. Whatever anyone would like. Both
Yeah, well,
being
that
that
sounds like fun.
have 50 people.
Yeah, why don't we take, yeah, that's a way to go, because yeah, one of the things we do when we will have to sort of get people a chance to go before the Richard and Elizabeth scene is a big scene, and we also,
Yeah.
I think also Jennifer and Ken have
Yeah.
Yes.
something they're going to do. But so yeah, let's
Right.
get started with your, and Christine, unless you want to have, you have anything you'd like to share, or you want to.
I remember from my audition, when I was Titania, I just remember the audition because I actually wanted the role of Bottoms, but they told me no, they wouldn't let me audition for Bottoms or Puck. And I'm like, that's so silly. So they gave me just a few lines. And I remember it was, what jealous Oberon, such a heart's at rest. For the fairyland buys not the heart to view. And then that's all I said. And then they cast me as, you know, Princess Titania. And I was like, I want to be Bottoms. Why do I have to be her? But it was great. So that's all. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a magical play with many magical characters, magical opportunities for actors as well. And I agree with you though that Bottom is the in a lot of ways the most fun part.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So Morna, you want to?
Where am I? Hello.
hello.
Yeah, it's probably well, before we get started, John, how is it? Is it working better? You're still muted though. I can't. Can you get yourself unmuted, or you can just watch? I see you talking, but you're muted, and I can't hear you. So I'm just trying to see if you can. Well, so I mean, since you can't, I mean, try. I don't know what to say because I don't know. I can't hear you. But anyways, but so please, Morna, let's. I'd like to get started then with that first interview you promised us.
Okay. When I was with the Hollywood Reporter, I used to, for 15 years, I used to interview a lot of celebrities. But actually, the one that I was most proud of interviewing, and it's terrible, oh, I can see myself. But the one that I was most interested in interviewing, of course, was William Shakespeare. And I found in Staten Island, in this old trunk in the attic, a paper by a guy named Francis Mears called Interviews with William Shakespeare. So the first interview was in April 1593, and I called him at the time Master William because he was kind of unknown. He was kind of coming along, you know. Master William, this is my interview with him. Master William was actually 3 hours late. And in the musty dressing room of the theater in Shoreditch, the actors were strolling in and out, some of them in gaudy Veronese robes and others in homespun dresses. Now, with the tremendous success of his new play, Romeo and Juliet, that has instilled some enthusiastic audiences, and spirits are very high. Now, Master William's entry is preceded by loud, gay chatter. I uncoiled myself from a hard wooden bench as he walked into the room, and in his hand glittered a ruby red cup glass brimming with claret, and it splashed out onto the brand new Persian carpet that was his personal gift to the theater 2 days before. Onion, the rosy-lipped young man with dark Italian eyes, whispered to me, "He has been frightfully creepy, but I insist he must come in and talk to you for at least 10 minutes. You see, the Hollywood Reporter is a very major paper in the industry." So, "I hate interviews," said Master William, looking me straight in the eye. "They always misquote me and make me look like a complete ass." I made a mental note to be extra careful how I quoted him. He handed his glass to his nearest neighbor, then he shooed everybody out the door, and closing the door sharply on their protests, he turned and regarded me solemnly. "Shall I stand or sit?" he asked, but he had a twinkle in his hazel eye. He's rather a small man, whose most noticeable feature is those penetrating eyes that both alarm and disarm you at the same time. He has auburn hair, crowning an oval face with a thin, almost wiry mustache, and a very slight receding chin reveals a certain weakness that makes him seem more human. At 29, his look is still boyish. There are elements of his Romeo in his movements. They are graceful and sensuous, but his speech is all Mercutio. Throwing himself onto the bench, half lying and picking at a loose splinter, he talks. Oh, no need for me to ask questions. This interview, like the London theatre, is in his hands today. Well, I started off writing hack, he said. I'm the first to admit it. Epic poems guaranteed to prove I knew my classics as well as the next man. My first plays, he grimaces, then he laughs. Crap, blood and gore, crippled princes and bloody stumps waving. Whatever I thought the public wanted. But after my 27th birthday, I started to feel unsatisfied. How long would this go on? What was to be gotten out of it other than some dubious friendships with men whose blood is supposedly bluer than my own? Romeo and Juliet was the first time I put my guts into it. You understand me? I am Romeo and I am Juliet, and I wouldn't let them say a word I didn't believe. The joy is when the public responded to this. Great! He leaps up and he paces the room, peering out of the low window into the rain-washed lane. He continues. Chapman, Green, these people are old hat, he said vehemently. They say the same things, keep to the same formulas. I'm through with that now. Aristotle, schmuddle. Structure must be fluid. Rules must be broken, and I'm going to break them all and set up new rules. It's well known that George Chapman considers Master William an avant-gardist, while Robert Greene has printed scathing attacks on the actor-playwright, calling him, quote, an upstart crow, to the delight of all his competitors. Master Greene claimed that one cannot write and act at the same time, I venture, hoping I might set off a few sparks. Crossing swiftly to the stool where I'm sitting, my knees nearly to my chest, he towers angrily over me. Pointing his finger within an inch of my nose, he says, his eyes black, Robert Greene, may he rest in peace, was a writer of libelous pamphlets, incredible romances, and tedious poems. His plays are monstrous, the plots are preposterous, and his characters stereotypes. I write for a living theater. He wrote for his university friends. Well, will you give up acting now and devote yourself full-time to writing for the company? I asked, anxious to get back to safe ground. He sighed. I couldn't afford to if I wanted, he says, sitting down on the bench, his elbows on his knees. You can't make a living from playwriting. Besides, I was an actor first, and I enjoy it. I still can do both. Nothing interferes with the other. In fact, they feed each other, I believe. No, I see no reason to quit the stage. So what are your future plans? I ask. To tell the truth, he answers. Again, with that piercing look into my eyes, so characteristic of this man. Fiction is entertaining, but it is in the truth that man really sees himself. We have had a remarkable history there in England. We have had some saints on the throne and some very devils. As a nation, we have behaved admirably, but we have also acted shamefully. I'm going to tell it like it was, like it really was. He stands up and stretches with a loud groan. 10 minutes, he says. As he crosses the room, I leap up. Oh, just one thing, I ask hurriedly. What would you say is your cardinal rule as a dramatist? Keep them awake, says Master William, spinning around. Cupping his hands around his mouth, he yells suddenly, "Wake up, people! I've arrived." He stands with his hand on the door. Already I can hear the hubbub of voices, his friends and his public waiting impatiently for him. He opens the door. A roar envelops him, looking back over his shoulder as he swept out into the passage. He winks. Yes, Master William told it to me straight. He has arrived. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Morna. That was terrific. So much fun. Yes, and I think that it really is one of the things that's really essential about his work is that he was an actor as well. You know, and and the more as an actor I've worked on them, the way that they work for actors is something that I really think is true. So we have John. Have you had any luck unmuting yourself, or is he still? I'm trying to see. We do have somebody call in, listener. I don't know that I can allow you to talk if you have anything you want to share. The person, but yeah. So thanks so much, Mona. That was great. And it makes sense to have him be interviewed by the Hollywood Reporter because he was a popular writer and he's always in the present. So who else what do we got? Do we got Jennifer and Ken? Do you want to do the Me Too scene from the Me Too play?
Okay, I'll do that.
I wouldn't trivialize it like that. I mean, it's much bigger than.
It's much more profound than that.
Okay. Well, anyways, but okay, so what we're going to have is measure for measure, so it's, what is this, Act 3 scene? No, it's Act
2, Scene 4.
Act 2, Scene 4, which is.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you're unmuted now.
Oh my God. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, is that you, John, or?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to check. I didn't want to interfere with somebody doing something. I just wanted to see if I was.
Yeah, okay, because we're hearing you through your dial-in is the phone, but we still can't. I mean, we can see you, but we're hearing you through the phone, and so your phone icon is highlighted. But
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So but now what we're going to get is a scene for Measure with Jennifer Finger is Isabella and Kenneth Wayne is Angelo. Act 2, Scene 4. And so if I could request if other people could just mute themselves during this. All right. Well, John, can you mute yourself? Or now you can't mute. You can't mute.
Yeah, I won't make any sound, so it won't matter.
Okay, well, we still sort of hear sort of like background ambient sound. Do you have,
I don't know.
let me see, what can we do? Well, wait, hold on. Do you want to, okay. Now I can see you, now you're spotlighted and we can hear you. If you want to share some Shakespeare right now and then they can go into the scene, or what do you got? Or you just.
I'll wait for them and then try to go after.
Okay.
Okay. Jennifer, where do you want to begin? From the top of the scene or from where you enter?
That line right before I enter. How about that? The how now.
Okay, but I'd like to finish with your speech.
Okay.
At the end of the scene. You should do that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. You mean this whole speech for me? Oh heavens, why does my blood?
Or just the how now, fair maid line that was.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How now? Fair maid,
I have come to know your pleasure.
that you might know it would much better please me than to demand what is. Your brother cannot live.
Even so, heaven keep your honor.
Yet may he live a while, and it may be as long as you or I, yet he must die.
Under your sentence,
Yea,
when I beseech you, that in his reprieve, longer or shorter, he may be so fitted that his soul sicken not.
ah, by these filthy vices. Yet what is good to pardon him that hath from nature stolen a man already made, as to remit their saucy sweetness that do coin heaven's image and stamps that are forbid? 'Tis all as easy falsely to take away a life true made as to put metal in restrained means to make a false one.
'Tis set down so in heaven, but not in earth.
Say you so? Then I shall pose you quickly. Which had you rather, that the most just law now took your brother's life, or to redeem him, give up your body to such sweet uncleanness as that he hath stained?
Sir, believe this. I had rather give my body than my soul.
I talk not of your soul. Our compelled sins stand more for number than account.
How say you?
Nay, I'll not warrant that, for I can speak against the thing I say. Answer to this. I, now the voice of the recorded law, pronounce its sentence on your brother's life. Might there not be a charity in sin to save this brother's life?
Please you to do it. I'll take it as peril to my soul. It is no sin at all, but charity.
Pleased you to do it at peril of your soul were equal poise of sin and charity.
That I do beg his life. If it be sin, heaven let me bear it. You granting of my suit, if that be sin, I'll make it my morn prayer, to have it added to the faults of mine. And nothing of your answer.
Nay, but hear me, your sense pursues not mine. Either you are ignorant or seem so craftily, and that's not good.
Let me be ignorant, and in nothing good, but graciously to know I am no better.
Thus wisdom wishes to appear most bright when it doth tax itself, as these black masks proclaim an enshield beauty 10 times louder than beauty could displayed. But mark me, to be received plain, I'll speak more gross. Your brother is to die.
So,
And his offense is so, as it appears, the countenance of the law upon that pain.
true.
Admit no other way to save his life, as I subscribe not that nor any other, but in the loss of question, that you, his sister, finding yourself desired of such a person, whose credit with a judge or own great place could fetch your brother from the manacles of the all-binding law, and that there were no earthly mean to save him, but that either you must lay down the treasures of your body to the supposed, or else let him suffer, what would you do?
As much for my poor brother as myself, that is. Were I under the terms of death, the impression of keen whips I wear as rubies, and strip myself to death as to a bed, that longing have been sick for ere I yield my body up to shame.
Then must your brother die.
And 'twere the cheaper way. Better were a brother died at once than that a sister by redeeming him should die forever.
Were not you then as cruel as the sentence that you have slandered so?
Ignominy and ransom and free pardon are of two houses. Lawful mercy is nothing akin to foul redemption.
You seemed of late to make the law a tyrant, and rather proved the slighting of your brother a merriment than a vice.
Oh, pardon me, my lord. It all falls out to have what we would have. We speak not what we mean. I something do excuse the thing I hate for his advantage that I dearly love.
We are all frail.
Also let my brother die. If not a fettery, but only he, and succeed thy weakness.
Nay, women are frail too.
Aye, as the glasses where they view themselves, which are as easy broke as they make forms. Women? Help heaven, men their creation mar and profiting by them. Nay, call us 10 times frail, for we are soft, as our complexions are, and credulous to false prince.
I think it well, and from this testimony of your own sex, since I suppose we are made to be no stronger than faults may shake our frames, let me be bold I do arrest your words. Be that you are, that is, a woman, if you be more, you're none. If you be one, as you are well expressed by all external warrants, show it now by putting on the destined livery.
I have no tongue but one. Gentle, my lord, let me entreat you speak the formal language.
Plainly conceive, I love you.
My brother did love Juliet, and you tell me that he shall die for it.
You shall not, Isabel, if you give me love.
I know your virtue hath a license in it, which seems a little fouler than it is to pluck on others.
Believe me on mine honor, my words express my purpose.
Huh? Little honor to be much believed, and most pernicious purpose. Seeming. I will proclaim thee, Angelo, look for it. Sign me a present pardon for my brother, or with an outstretched throat, I'll tell the world aloud what man thou art.
Who will believe thee, Isabel? My unsoiled name, the austereness of my life, my vouch against you, and my place in the state will sow your accusation of a way that you shall stifle in your own report and smell of calumny. I have begun, and now I give my sensual race the rein. Fit thy consent to my sharp appetite, lay by all nicety and prolixious blushes that banish what they sue for, redeem thy brother by yielding up thy body to my will, or else he must not only die the death, but thy unkindness shall his death draw out to lingering sufferance. Answer me tomorrow, or by the affection that now guides me most, I'll prove a tyrant to him. As for you, say what you can. My false always your true.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? Well, perilous mouths that bear in them one and the selfsame tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law may curtsy to their will, looking both right and wrong to the appetite, to follow as it draws. Oh, to my brother, though he has fallen by prompter of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor, that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he yield them up before his sister should her body stoops to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabel lived chaste, and brother die. More than our brother is our chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest.
Oh, thank you guys. Good job. Thank you so much. That was really well done. And yeah, there is so much about this, which is so still, unfortunately, very relevant and of the time, and au courant. And John, so we can I think we can hear you, and let me just.
You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you, and just now I can spotlight you, and now we can see you as well. So it's good to see you.
Okay, good. So, ready to go?
Yeah, go ahead, share some Shakespeare.
Okay. Oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven. It has the primal eldest curse upon it. A brother's murder. Pray, can I not? No inclination be as sharp as will. My stronger guilt defeats my strong intent. And now, like a man to double business bound, I stand and pause where I should first begin, and both neglect. What if this cursed hand were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in the sweet heavens to wash it white as snow? Whereto serves mercy, but to confront the ridges of offense? And what's in prayer but this twofold force, to be forestalled ere we come to fall, or pardon being down? Then I'll look up. My fault is past. But oh, what form of prayer can serve my turn? Forgive me my foul murder. It cannot be, since I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder. My crown, my own ambition, and my sin. Will one be pardoned and retain the offense? In the collective currents of this world, offence's gilded hand may shall buy justice, and oft it seems the wicked prize itself buys out the law. But 'tis not so above. There is no shuffling. There the action lies in his true nature, and we ourselves compelled, even to the teeth and forehead of our faults, to give an evidence. What then? Try what repentance can? Can it not? Yes. What can it when one cannot repent? O wretched state, O bosom black as death! O limed soul that's struggling to be free of one gaze. Help, angels, make us, eh? And harvest strays of steel be soft as sinews of the newborn babe. All may be well. When my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, excellent. Beautiful, John. Yes, Claudius from Act 3.
Nice.
That was, yeah. Oh, so many, I mean, because both of those the scene and then that speech, I mean, dealing with these serious issues and using the language as a way to be able to think about them and deal with them.
Yes.
Excellent. So thank you so much. So do we have other anybody else who would like to
I'll do something, but I was going to do a scene from Richard III with Michael between Elizabeth and Richard, but he's not here. So
yeah,
I'll do
he's
a
here. I
piece.
think he's here.
Is he
Aren't
here?
you here, Michael? I see you as a panelist listed. I thought I saw him earlier. He's got his stuff off right now, but he is here.
Yeah, he is here. Send him a chat.
Oh, Michael's got here. Oh, well, when he's ready, we're going to do Elizabeth.
Okay. So yeah, just Mike. Well, I don't know where he doesn't usually respond to the chat. So John, you haven't been with us on Zoom, but you've done a lot in the libraries when we were doing them still in the libraries, and hopefully we'll get back to them soon. And then
Yeah,
you've done them earlier as well, hadn't you? Or why?
yeah, I've done
Okay, I moved.
regular performance stuff, and it's always fun, and I think once you kind of go with it, it's kind of easy, a lot easier than people think. It flows if you just let it flow. Don't try to push or do anything with it. It just takes you along. And it's kind of nothing like it, really.
Yeah, I agree.
You know that.
Well, Paul, while we're waiting, can I do the second one?
Yeah, sure. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Oh, speak of you. Okay. This is the second interview that I did, which was in September 1602. And at this point, he was now known as William Shakespeare, because there was no other to even match him. And in my article, I wrote that, quote, since William Shakespeare burst upon the London scene 10 years ago with Romeo and Juliet, the whole face of British theater has changed. The greatest ladies, if someone doesn't have their sound off, Jackie, can you put your sound off? Someone I can hear is jumping around and it's very distracting. The greatest ladies in the land are no longer afraid to visit the playhouses on the wrong side of the Thames. The Lord Chamberlain's company, of which William Shakespeare is the star playwright, is now ensconced in the new ultra-modern Globe Theatre. Here the dressing room is lavish with leather-covered divans and carved wooden footstools. Actors never sit here half-dressed, as in the old theatre, and the hand-woven Danish rug is spotless. A few minutes after my arrival, the author of Hamlet, a play that has the British public spellbound, entered quietly alone, his hand outstretched. As we shook hands, his clear brown eyes bored into mine, unnerving me, leaving me almost speechless. It was a dreadful situation for an interviewer, but William Shakespeare was not at a loss. I can give you 10 minutes, he said, crossing to the window seat. Since the amazing success of my Hamlet, we're frightfully busy. The strange part of it all is we were sure that this play would be an absolute bomb. It was rather a vanity production of my own, actually. Dick Burbage wanted to do it in the summer when everybody was out of town. He was sure there would be a huge flop commercially. We both knew artistically it was superb, but who would have thought the public would have gone for it like it was? I never dreamed. He stopped, an expression of wonder and bemusement on his sensitive face. At 38, William Shakespeare is still a handsome man. His keen eyes are a deeper brown, his auburn hair is and streaked gray, a grizzled beard and deep laugh lines have added maturity to an ageless face. When he talks, he emphasizes his words with a swoop of his hand or gesture of his fingers. How did you come to write Hamlet? I asked. He looked at me gravely. My father died last year, he said. I had just completed Julius Caesar. Almost impossible to get back to work. History had lost meaning for me. I had been given this rather awful revenge melodrama to work on about an idiotic prince who just couldn't make up his mind. I wanted to make a farce out of it, but it wouldn't work. Then it came to me, and I made it a tragedy purely for my own sanity's sake. It helped. It actually helped me to come to terms with my father's death. And now for the public to respond like this, it's amazing. So gratifying. Again, he was lost in thought. Well, what do you think will be the direction of your future work? I asked. There is a wealth of drama in man's relationship to his children, to his parents, to his kin. No one has ever really explored these areas before. I feel there is a body of work waiting for me, perhaps a trilogy, I don't know. It is still formulating. I know one thing, though. Hamlet is the beginning of a new life for me. Well, I waited for him to explain further, but he was silent. Well, have you any advice for the new young writers coming up? I asked him. Write, he said tersely. Keep your mouth shut and write. Chris Marlowe was a brilliant writer. He had promise, but he had to get mixed up in politics. His death is a tragic loss. Young writers should read all the great masters of the past and also study the contemporary masters. Learn all their tricks and don't listen to anyone who says you can't or you mustn't. You can and you must, or you're worth nothing. He stood up, pulling in his stomach and stretching silently. I heard he had been watching his diet very carefully, so I asked him about it, and he laughed. Well, an actor has to think of his figure, he said. A playwright sits all day. It doesn't matter if he gets a bit wide, but I'm still an actor, you know. Well, how do you find the time? I asked. His output is incredible. 22 plays in 12 years. Oh, I find it, he said. I do most of the work in my head. By the time I sit at the table, I know practically every word I'm going to write. I seldom need to revise. I'd heard that rumored about. I was pleased to hear it from his own lips. Besides, he added, smiling, the actors are eager enough to add their own lines to mine. Well, doesn't being the leading playwright and one of the actors cause problems? I asked. Around here, I'm just a bit player who writes some of the plays, he says, a grin on his face. I wanted to play Claudius, but ended up as the ghost instead. Nobody else wanted the part, so as I wrote it, I got it. Well, is there any chance you might leave the company? I asked. Oh, no, he said. You must understand. Once in a while, we have a hit on our hands, but the company has the hit, not me. Without them, I'd be nothing. No playwright can survive without good actors. And we have the best here. Dick Burbage is a brilliant Hamlet. Without him, the play would be nothing. There was a brisk knock at the door. Oh, William Shakespeare turned to me with a smile. I'm afraid that signals our 10 minutes, he said. Goodbye, and thanks for coming. He opened the door and left without even looking back. Good night, sweet prince, I whispered. Thank you.
Thank you, Morna. That was a lot of fun. That's all. And you wrote these things long before the Something Rotten and also Upstart Crow, which was the
Yep.
series about him and all of that. So thank you. That's great. Hey, Christine. So you're in your car now. You got gas and.
Yes.
Cool. So, Jackie, have you found Michael? Has he shown? I mean, because he was there, but is he not?
Michael, are you around?
Yep.
What happened to Michael? We were going to
Because
do
I
it.
saw him and he even had like one of those virtual background things.
What happened to him?
Tried to unmute.
Muted. He's still
I'm
muted.
here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you give me 2 seconds? That was really good. I'm sorry. I just got to get something out of my tooth. I'll be right there.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Give me 2 seconds, love.
Okay.
Jackie,
Yes, I'm here.
I want to start with your line before I say "stay, madam," as you're letting go of Margaret.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay. And I want to keep it till after you exit when I make a comment about you. Before I call Rap.
Wait, go slow. You want to what?
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay, he'll be right back. But anyways, this is we're going to have a scene from Richard III, which is one of another of Shakespeare's horribly inaccurate histories, as far as we know. I mean, and basically on the evidence we have, I mean, Macbeth, even though it's a tragedy, it's actually based on a historical character, and the history is very wrong. I mean, he didn't murder him like that. Beat him in field. He was declared protector of the faith by the Pope and his big to get that title, and then he came back and Malcolm whooped his ass. But he was king for like 15 years. So there's that, and also Richard III, which is more controversial as to whether he's really the bad guy. The big bad wolf is by Shakespeare under the Tudors, or because he was the last Yorkist king, and he gets kind of a bad rap because the winners write the history. So anyway, now that we know more about him because they finally found his bones, it's a very
My water. Just gonna get my water.
so. But yeah, I think that that he makes they're great characters. I mean, Richard III is much more memorable to people because of Shakespeare's play than from he would be otherwise as a historical king. Probably he was only king for 2 years, you know, but or about a year and a half or so, but he does feature prominently in the 2 plays. He even makes a little cameo bit in Henry VI Part 2.
Stay now.
And then in Part 3.
I think I can do it. Can I talk okay? Yeah.
We can
I
hear
want to
you.
make sure nothing's pinching me.
Yes, we can hear you.
I just want to make sure nothing was pinching me. That's all. Okay, I'm just about there. I'm just going to break you guys halfway there and bring my screen down. And so anyway, Jackie, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here.
So after you leave, before Ratcliffe enters, I have a line comment about you. So I'll call scene or whatever.
Don't you want to, are you coming in with stay, madam? I must talk.
No, I want you to say the line just before
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I just think it's a good way.
Okay. All right. Though far more cause, yet much less spirit to curse abide in me, I say aman to her.
Stay, madam. I must talk a word with you.
I have no more sons of the royal blood for thee to slaughter. For my daughters, Richard, they shall be praying nuns, not weeping queens, and therefore level not to hit their lives.
You have a daughter called Elizabeth, virtuous and fair, royal and gracious.
And must she die for this? Oh, let her live, and I'll corrupt her manners, stain her beauty, slander myself as false to Edward's bed, throw over her the veil of infamy, so she may live unscarred of bleeding slaughter. I will confess she was not Edward's daughter.
Wrong not her birth. She is a royal princess.
To save her life, I'll say she is not so.
Her life is safest only in her birth.
And only in that safety died her brothers.
Lo, at their birth, good stars were opposite.
True, when avoided grace.
No, to their lives you were ill friends.
All
Yeah.
no, to their lives, ill friends were contrary.
All unavoided is the doom of destiny.
True, when avoided grace makes destiny. My babes were destined to a fairer death, if grace had blessed me with a fairer life.
You speak as if I had slain my cousins.
Cousins indeed, and by their uncle cozened of comfort, kingdom, kindred, freedom, life, whose hand soever launched their tender hearts, thy head all indirectly gave direction. No doubt the murderous knife was dull and blunt, till it was whetted on thy stone hard heart to revel in the entrails of my lambs. But that still use of grief makes wild grief tame. My tongue should to thy ears not name my boys, till that my nails were anchored in thine eyes, and I in such a desperate bay of death, like a poor bark of sails and tackling reft, rush all to pieces on thy rocky bosom.
Madam, so there thrive I in my enterprise and dangerous success of bloody wars, as I intend more good to you and yours than ever you and yours by me were harmed.
What good is covered with the face of heaven to be discovered that can do me good?
The advancement of your children, gentle lady.
Up to some scaffold there to lose their heads.
Unto the dignity and height of fortune, the high imperial type of this earth's glory.
Oh, flatter my sorrow with report of it. Tell me what state, what dignity, what honor canst thou demise to any child of mine?
Even all I have, I and myself and all, will I with all endow a child of thine. So in the lethe of thy angry soul thou drown the sad remembrance of those wrongs which thou supposest I have done to thee.
Oh, be brief, lest that the process of thy kindness last longer telling than thy kindness date.
Then know that from my soul I love thy daughter.
My daughter's mother thinks it with her soul.
What do you think?
That thou dost love my daughter from thy soul, so from thy soul's love didst thou love her brothers, and from my heart's love I do thank thee for it.
Be not so hasty to confound my meaning. I mean that with my soul I love thy daughter, and do intend to make her Queen of England.
Why then, who dost thou mean? Why then, who dost you mean shall be her king?
Even he that makes her queen. Who else would it be?
But the house.
Even so. How think you of it?
How canst thou woo her?
That I would learn of you, and one being best acquainted with her humor.
And wilt thou learn of me?
Madam, with all my heart.
Send to her by the man that slew her brothers a pair of bleeding hearts. Therein engraved Edward and York, then happily will she weep. Therefore present to her, as sometimes Margaret did to thy father, steeped in Rutland's blood, a handkerchief, which say to her did dry the purple sap from her sweet brother's body, and bid her wipe her weeping eyes withal. If this inducement move her not to love, send her a letter of thy noble deeds. Tell her thou madest away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, aye, and for her sake madest quick conveyance with her good Aunt Anne.
You mock me, madam. This is not the way to win your daughter.
Oh, there is no other way, unless thou couldst put on some other shape and not be rich, and that hath done all this.
Say that I did all this for love of her.
Nay, then indeed she cannot choose but hate thee, having bought love with such a bloody spoil.
Look, what is done cannot be now amended. Men shall deal unadvisedly sometimes, which after hours gives leisure to repent. If I did take the kingdom from your sons to make amends, I'll give it to your daughter. If I have killed the issue of your womb to quicken your increase, I will beget mine issue of your blood upon your daughter. A grandam's name is little less in love than is the doting title of a mother. They are as children, but one step below, even of your metal, of your very blood, of all one pain, save for a night of groans endured of her, for whom you bid like sorrow. Your children were vexation to your youth, but mine shall be a comfort to your age. The loss you have is but a son being king, and by that loss, your daughter is made queen. I cannot make you what amends I would, therefore accept such kindness as I can. Dorset, your son, that with a fearful soul leads discontented steps in foreign soil, this fair alliance quickly shall call home to high promotions and great dignity. The king that calls your beauteous daughter wife, familiarly shall call thy Dorset brother. Again shall you be mother to a king, and all the ruins of distressed times repaid with a double riches of content. What? We have many goodly days to see. The liquid drops of tears that you have shed shall come again, transformed to orient pearl, advantaging their love with interest, oftentimes double gain of happiness. Go then, my mother, to thy daughter, go. Make bold her bashful years with your experience. Prepare her ears to hear a wooer's tale. Put in her tender heart the aspiring flame of golden sovereignty. Acquaint the princess with the sweet, silent hours of marriage joys. And when this arm of mine has chastised the petty rebel, dull-brained Buckingham, bound with triumphant garlands will I come, and lead thy daughter to a conqueror's bed, to whom I will tell my conquest won, and she shall be sole victoress. Caesar's Caesar.
What were I best to say? Her father's brother would be her lord, or shall I say her uncle, or he that slew her brothers and her uncles? Under what title shall I woo for thee, that God the Lord my honor and her love can make seem pleasing to her tender years?
Infer fair England's peace by this alliance,
which she shall purchase with still lasting war.
Tell her the king that may command entreats,
that at her hands which the king's king forbids,
say she shall be a high and mighty queen.
to bear the title as her mother doth.
Say I will love her everlastingly.
But how long shall that title ever last?
Sweetly enforce until her fair lives end.
But how long fairly shall her sweet life last?
As long as heaven and nature lengthens it.
As long as Helen Richard likes of it.
Say I, her sovereign, am her subject low.
But she, your subject, loathes such sovereignty.
And be eloquent in my behalf to her.
An honest tale speaks best being plainly told.
Then plainly to her tell my loving tale.
Plain and not honest, it is too harsh a style.
Your reasons are too shallow and too quick.
Oh no, my reasons are too deep and dead, poor infants in their graves. Harp on it, still shall I, till heart springs break.
Harp not on that string, madam, that is past. Now by George, my garter and my crown.
Profane, dishonored, and the third usurped.
I swear.
By nothing, for this is no oath. Thy George profaned, hath lost his lordly honor. Thy garter blemished, pawned his knightly virtue. Thy crown usurped, disgraced his kingly glory. Is something thou wouldst swear to be believed, swear then by something that thou hast not wronged.
Then by myself.
Thyself is self misused.
Now by the world.
'Tis full of thy foul wrongs.
My father's death.
Thy life hath it dishonored.
Why then by heaven.
Heaven's wrong is most of all. If thou didst fare to break an oath with him, the unity the king my husband made, thou hast not broken, nor my brothers died. If thou hadst feared to break an oath by him, the imperial medal circling now thy head had graced the tender temples of my child, and both the princes had been breathing here, which now two tender bedfellows for dust. Thy broken faith hath made the prey for worms. What canst thou swear by now?
Time to come.
That thou hast wronged in the past or past. For I myself have many tears to wash. Hereafter time, for time past, wronged by thee. The children live whose fathers thou hast slaughtered, ungoverned youth to wail it with their age. The parents live whose children thou hast butchered, old barren plants to wail it with their age. Swear not by time to come, for that thou hast misused ere us, by times ill us repast.
I intend to prosper and repent, so thrive I in my dangerous affairs of hostile arms. Myself confound. Heaven and fortune bar me happy hours. Day yield me not thy light, nor night thy rest. Be opposite all planets of good luck to my proceeding, if with dear heart's love, immaculate devotion, holy thoughts, I tender not thy beauteous, princely daughter. In her consists my happiness, and thine. Without her follows to myself and thee, herself, the land, and many a Christian soul, death, desolation, ruin, and decay. It cannot be avoided but by this. It will not be avoided but by this. Therefore, dear mother, I must call you so. Be the attorney of my love to her. Plead what I will be, not what I have been. Not my deserts, but what I will deserve. Urge the necessity and state of times, and be not peevish found in great designs.
Shall I be tempted of the devil thus?
Aye, if the devil tempt you to do good.
Shall I forget myself to be myself?
Aye, if yourselves remembrance wrong yourself.
Yet thou didst kill my children.
But in your daughter's womb I bury them, where in that nest of spicery there will breed selves of themselves to your recomforture.
Shall I go with my daughter to thy will?
And be a happy mother by the deed.
I go, write to me very shortly, and you shall understand from me her mind.
Bear her my true love's kiss, and so farewell. Relenting fool and shallow changing woman. Now, what news? Scene.
Ooh,
Yes, very good.
he is terrible.
I fucked up some words here, I see.
I did too.
Oh,
I
well
did. I said us
done.
instead of used. Yeah, I did.
Me
There were
too.
some things I should have. I missed.
Me too.
I don't know why I didn't go over those words.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It came to life so beautifully. Never mind. No apology.
Really? Yes, yes.
Oh,
Michael
that's
is
really good.
absolutely evil.
I wish you had taped it. You
I
didn't
was
tape tonight,
sloppy.
Paul.
Yes, he did.
You were fine. I was sloppy and
now you won.
misused air used by time.
Everybody's
ill
talking
used
at once. Hold on.
past. Swear not by time to come
Oh.
for that.
I screwed up words too.
Air used by times ill
The
used.
the last thing you should worry about is missing a word, because then
No,
you're
it
going to be
was like-
thinking
I
about
said
reading.
it's like swear not by time to come, for that
It
thou hast
happens.
misused ere used by times ill used repast. I missed the used. Sorry, I fucked up there.
The
So,
I'm
audience
Paul,
doesn't
try
care.
myself.
this.
I'm careless. I'm sloppy. I'm a little.
Paul,
Oh,
I can't hear you.
I hadn't really said anything because everybody's talking, but I thought it
Right.
was good. And also, I think both Angelo and then Richard in this is just sort of like, it's really sort of like the white male privilege of like, I'm going to ask for something just because I want it, even though there is no way I've got any right to it, you know, but I just figure I can demand it. I mean, in Richard's case, he is the king, but not for long.
yeah.
You didn't, Paul, you didn't tape these?
Yeah, it's taping. I didn't.
Because I was trying to watch it on YouTube before on my cell phone and I couldn't see it.
No, I didn't stream it live on YouTube, but I did tape it.
Oh, it'll be up later. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Paul.
not on the Ed Sullivan Show live tonight, which was always
Right, no, on our show tonight. But, Paul,
Yeah, John.
if time for another short one here.
yes.
Yeah, sure. Go
Yes.
ahead.
John, I enjoyed
Okay.
your king. I enjoyed your
Claudius.
usurper king.
Claudius.
Yes, Claudius.
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
Very good.
And
Very
he
good.
gets his just reward.
You want us to keep
Okay, this is a
on?
short one. It's a woman's speech.
Yeah, if everybody
Maybe the one.
could just mute themselves. So, John, just if everybody else would just mute yourself, and then John, yeah, you can.
Okay, a woman's speech. That's kind of maybe the woman's speech. Come, you spirits, attend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood. Stop up the access and passage of remorse, with no compunctious vicities of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and his. Come to my women's breasts, and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, take night, and pour thee in the dullest smoke of hell, that thy keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold. That's it. I always want to do that one.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. It also puts me in mind of this other thing that I posted on Facebook about that Jeffrey Owens is doing a soliloquy a day in April because it's part of this show he's going to be doing at some point called Now I'm Alone, based on all these soliloquies. And he did both of the soliloquies that you've done tonight. So just thought both the Claudius one and Lady M, because I mean, I think it's so universal that gender really, I mean, it's all everybody of all genders.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a man's speech, in a lot of ways. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
You know what I love about Shakespeare? It's also what I love about Alfred Hitchcock. Is that no matter how heinous the people's crimes and the things they do are, you understand them, why they do the things they do. And it's scary as hell that way, but that's great writing,
You have to relate to the people, otherwise it's,
You
you're
have
not
to
going to
see
be
an
interested.
element of your own humanity in them.
Or inhumanity.
Alfred Hitchcock, I think, is very good with that also, as a filmmaker. I've been watching a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
It's only a movie. That's what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, even the most, I mean, and I think that's also another thing about sort of him as an actor as well, is that, I mean, that he really knew you had to find something in every character. And I think in every character, there is something that's even in the darkest villains, there's still something that we can relate to because it's very human.
Yes.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's really even there's so many sort of Shakespeare references in Breaking Bad, I think.
Oh, really?
He's Macbeth. He's a good guy who turns evil.
Yeah.
He's Macbeth, pretty much.
Pretty much. I think that is a very good thing. And I think it's also like there were 5 seasons and it really kind of was trying to be in the sort of a 5-act structure, and also also appropriate to talk about on, well, Shakespeare's nearly birthday, death day, is that he ends up dying on his birthday, on his 52nd birthday, which is the age that Shakespeare was when he died. So I think that's another little sort of Shakespeare thing that's sort of hidden there that people don't, that isn't explicit.
And it's also I don't, it wasn't a real popular show, but some people saw Deadwood.
I did not. see-
Deadwood was
Yes.
Deadwood was really like Shakespeare writing. It really had twisty, turny monologues and speeches that people had that really were very, like Shakespeare. I thought it was a great, well written show, and it had that feeling of it. That's what I felt like when I was watching it, like Shakespearean kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's true, and he still has a huge sort of influence. I mean, even when we have things where we have writers like, say, Aaron Sorkin, who's really sort of clever with dialogue. I mean, that's the sort of thing where in both of the scenes and the speeches, we just hear the way that Shakespeare really just showed how language can be so powerfully used and played with and manipulated.
What was the name of that series that Kevin Spacey did?
House of Cards.
Yes, that was it. That was supposed to be Shakespearean.
Yeah, I know. There was nobody to like on that show.
Well, I didn't see that one. I preferred the original House of Cards with Ian Richardson, where he is very much sort of Richard III and Henry VI Part 3 in the sort of first episode, first season of it, where he's just manipulating everybody and playing them off each other so masterfully. And I never saw the Kevin Spacey series, but I do recommend the original, and it definitely does have a lot of Shakespearean overtones to it as well. So.
May I try the Queen Mab speech?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, do that.
Yes.
I'll even keep my flowers.
Then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairies' midwife, and she comes in shape no better than an agate stone on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomies over men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spokes, made of long spinner's legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, her traces of the smallest spider's web, her colors of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner, a small gray-coated gnat, not half so big as a round little worm pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut made by the joiner squirrel or old grub. Time out of mind, the fairies' coachmakers, and in this state she gallops night by night through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love, or courtiers' knees that dream on curtsies straight, or lawyers' fingers that straight dream on fees, or ladies' lips who straight on kisses dream, which oft the angry mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops o'er a courtier's nose, and then dreams he of smelling out a suit. And sometime comes she with a tithe-peak's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then dreams he of another benefice. Sometimes she driveth o'er a soldier's neck, and then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breaches, ambuscados, Spanish blades, of healths 5 fathom deep, and then anon drums in his ear, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frighted, swears a prayer or two, and sleeps again. This is that very mab that plats the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf locks in foul sluttish hairs, which once untangled much misfortune bodes. This is the hag when maids lie on their backs, that presses them and learns them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she.
Peace, peace, Mercutio, peace, thou talkst of nothing.
True, I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy. which is as thin of substance as the air and more inconstant than the wind, who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered, puffs away from thence, turning his side to the dew, dropping south.
Oh, yes. Nice. I have something.
Have something, Mona. Great. Yes. What do you have?
Well, on Monday, our Shakespeare readers did Taming of the Shrew, and none of us are actors, so we're pretty dreadful. So I chose,
Sometimes that works better.
no, I chose something that I can dispatch in about 2.5 minutes. So I hope it won't torture you guys too much.
No, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to see
Okay.
it too, but we'll just have to settle for hearing it.
Okay. It's Kate's speech at the very end, which I hope, well, I really like it. I really like it just as it reads. So here goes. Fie, unknit that threatening unkind brow, and dart not scornful glances from those eyes to wound thy lord, thy king, thy governor. It blots thy beauty as frost do bite the meads, confounds thy fame as whirlwinds shake their buds, and in no sense is meet or amiable. A woman moved is like a fountain troubled, muddy, ill-seeming, thick bereft of beauty. And while it is so, none so dry or thirsty will deign to sip or touch one drop of it. Thy husband is thy Lord, thy life, thy keeper, thy head, thy sovereign, one that cares for thee, and for thy maintenance commits his body to painful labor both by sea and land, to watch the night in storms, the day in cold, whilst thou liest warm at home, secure and safe, and craves no other tribute at thy hands but love, fair looks, and true obedience. Too little payment for so great a debt. Such duty as a subject owes the prince, even such a woman oweth to her husband. And when she is forward, peevish, sullen, sour, and not obedient to his honest will, what is she but a foul contending rebel and graceless traitor to her loving lord? I am ashamed that women are so simple to offer war where they should kneel for peace, or seek for rule, supremacy, and sway when they are bound to serve, love, and obey. Why are our bodies soft and weak and smooth, unapt to toil and trouble in the world, but that our soft conditions and our hearts should well agree with our external parts? Come, you forward and unable worms. My mind hath been as big as one of yours. My heart is great, my reason haply more, to bandy word for word and frown for frown. But now I see our lances are but straws. Our strength is weak, our weakness past compare, that seeming to be most, which we indeed least are. Then veil your stomachs, for it is no boot, and place your hands below your husband's foot, in token of which duty, if he please, my hand is ready. May it do him ease.
Oh, well done. Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very good. And very very, very, very well read and very clearly.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, exactly. Very straightforward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do the women feel about it though? Let's hear from.
I actually have a comment. My mother is a native from Kyushu, Japan, and so she doesn't know anything about feminism, and that's the home I grew up in. And my dad was a perfect gentleman, um, and so that's why I understand this.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's also, I mean, of course, it's so interesting to see in the productions how you choose to play it. I mean, in a lot of ways, like with Charles Marwood, sort of rewriting of it and changing of things, or that it's like the only reason she's saying this is because she's been tortured and forced to do that. And I know that there's a very sort of like anti-feminist view of it, but it's also, I think that the whole thing is that they're two people who are out of control, who realize that they can work together, and that she's sort of that it is actually, she is growing as a person at the end, which I think.
Did you see what they did in the park in the Delacorte Theater a few summers ago?
Which the
The
all-female.
all-female cast.
Yes, I did.
You didn't like it?
Well, I mean, Janet McTeer's Petruchio was great, and I mean,
Yeah, she was great. I agree with you. She was the only one I found any of interest in, but I don't really like the play anyway. But the ending of it, listen, I went in spite because I like watching theater, you know, and I enjoyed parts of it. But the ending, what did they play? The Joan Jett song. They played a loud punk. I can't remember the song, but it was Joan Jett. It was definitely a very angry song. And they took all their men's clothes off and started cursing. And one night, I swear, I heard her say things that, whoa, would definitely offend anybody who was religious, because she was using the Lord's name and cursing. And really, she said, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I wasn't hallucinating. And I listened tonight at the ending, and I thought, wow, this is really something.
Yeah, well, and that was also one of the things that I remember about it, because seeing it, and I believe it was in it was either 2015 or 2016, because it featured, like, in the beginning of it, as a sort of sideshow Barker, somebody being the voice of Trump.
Yes.
And then just a year or so
Yeah,
Right.
stay away from concept in Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, please. Yeah.
I didn't really care for it that much. What was the second production that summer was Troilus, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Which was incredible. I know you didn't like it, but I loved it.
No. There was a lot I liked about it. I mean, there were a lot of really great actors in it. I mean, John Glover, John Douglas Thompson, Corey Stoll. I mean, they're really.
And that actor who's the nephew of Sam Waterston, who was in The Tempest, and I didn't like him at first, but he played Caliban. Do you remember him? And I didn't like him at first. By the ending of the production, by opening night, he was flying. He was so real. He was the outstanding performance of the production, I thought. He was so good. And then the same thing, he stepped in for Corey. Who was it? Corey? Was it Corey? Somebody hurt their foot, who was supposed to play Achilles. No, David Harbour.
Yeah.
He hurt his Achilles heel on stage. And he actually was dealing with the injury on stage. His Achilles heel has Achilles. Hey, why not use it that night? And then he couldn't go on the next day because he was too swollen, so he couldn't get back. So that guy stepped in, and I saw his first performance. Okay, give it a break. He went up a couple of times. He was still committed. Somebody booed him. I said, come on. Again, within a few nights, and by the ending of the run, he was flying. And then I saw him in Coriolanus as a Phidias. He is such a good actor. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think, yeah,
He just needs a few rehearsals and playing time. And he's always, I mean, with Achilles, he came in under really weird circumstance. He came right in, you know, with a show that had already been running.
well, I mean, it's
When you got rehearsals, yeah.
He's a very good actor. He was also in The Irishman. He had a small part in The Irishman. He played a real creep in that who gets killed. He's great.
Well, I think one of the things about the instant Shakespeare is you don't have rehearsal.
Right.
And so you have to treat it as very much throwing yourself in
That's it.
completely as best you can. And that really, you know, tests you, and it really, you know, calls for a lot of commitment.
I think this is a very good thing for actors, for working actors. I'm surprised you don't have more people participating, but you know, I guess there's other reading groups, but this is a very, very good training ground for actors, having this value. You can see, you can watch your mistakes afterwards even, and see where you're, you know, where you need to work on your diction, in my case with my teeth or whatever. Well, I mean, you know, I'm out of the business, thank God, but you know, I mean, if you have dental problems, you gotta get. But you know, you can see all kinds of things. You know, I mean, I've got dental stuff, so it interferes with my diction. But for actors to be able to see themselves working, I think it's good.
well,
You know,
I think that also that I find Shakespeare, it gives you a workout, you know, it's a sort of, it's both a physical and a mental workout to say these lines and to understand them. And it takes a lot more breath than a lot of our normal everyday conversations. So it's, I think it's healthy for you. It's aerobics, and it shows you, I mean, like one of my favorite quotes is from Measure for Measure. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt.
Ooh.
and
Ooh.
isn't that what's
Yeah.
wild is that the guy who says that is Lucius says that.
Lucio, yeah.
Lucio, who's kind of like, you know, he's because he's such a bullshit artist. Every once in a while, though, he comes out with real truth. He's kind of like, you know, like the yippies playing games, you know. I mean, you know, he probably never. Right, but he doesn't mean harm, and every once in a while, he says something really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the thing is that you have, I mean, so many great thoughts in from so many different voices, which is why Shakespeare is also something that can appeal to everybody. You know, I mean, like Steve Bannon did his sort of screenplays of apparently a sort of intergalactic Coriolanus thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Nazis. Why is it that the Nazis love that play so much? I don't get the connection between the Nazis and Coriolanus, but they obviously did. Supposedly, it was a real favorite of the Nazis, of Hitler and the whole gang.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well,
Hitler loved the Merry Widow.
Oh, really?
He had
Well,
a
they had a
club
whole
called-
industry of musicals and these high energy, you know, super positive. The Fatherland is wonderful, and the whole film industry built around you know, Hollywood type musicals, but even more extreme. So they were into, you know, that high energy, you know, love of the fatherland, putting it out there.
I just like
Well, I
to-
guess was this the whole idealism of Coriolanus of like you got to fight for your food. You want to eat, you better join the war in the military.
Yeah,
That's
that's
probably what they liked. That's probably what they liked.
Yeah, they had a whole film industry based on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the good war.
Scary stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, Brecht did his own rewrite of Coriolanus, and then it actually there's a play sort of about when he was doing it with the Berliner Ensemble in East Germany, when there was like an actual people rising up against the government of East Germany. And so Gunter Grass wrote a play about it called The Plebeians Rehearse the Uprising.
Gunter Grass did this?
Yeah,
He directed it?
he wrote the play.
He wrote it. He wrote this. Did you ever see The Tin Drum?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
Jesus.
a
See The
freaky
Tin
movie.
Drum. It is an incredible film, but it's exhausting. So see it when you're in the head for it. It's really, what, you've seen it, John? You don't like it?
Oh yeah, I remember it well. Yeah,
Oh, God. And I also read the book after I saw the movie. The book is something.
yeah, the kids
movie-
giving birth there coming out. You know.
It's devastating. I don't need to see it again. I've seen it a couple of times.
I want to
Yeah,
see
it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Another one to see is Mephisto. That's a great movie for actors. Did you ever see Mephisto?
Yeah, absolutely. Very good one. With Klaus Maria Brandauer.
Yes. Do you remember the ending? I won't give it away for anybody who's never seen it. See that movie.
I just remember certain things like the way his eyes. It was,
Oh, I can't forget that ending though. That ending was, whoa.
yeah. But
I'm an actor.
so does anybody else have, in terms of where it's actually after 9 o'clock already? So does anybody have any other sorts of Shakespeare thoughts, Shakespeare things they would like to share before we wrap up? I was going to ask Lorna to read the third one, but I guess she's already.
Just that if we have an audience, do we have anybody else besides us?
No, it's
I
all.
would say to young actors,
I'm just going to say
study
good night.
Shakespeare.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. And thank you, Jennifer.
Ken and Jackie and Michael.
Jackie left.
And Jackie.
Here.
Jackie's there.
Oh, there's Jack. Jackie's still here? Oh,
I've
hi.
just been reworking my part. Right.
No, I'm saying
to
to
be
young
more
actors,
serious.
if there's any young actors in our audience, like I would say definitely, you should definitely study Shakespeare.
Yeah, I think there's a lot just in terms of just sort of in general to be able to share it and to speak the words and to hear them is
Yeah.
The psychology of it all too.
Hey, Michael, you and I should do that scene again sometime. On one
Well,
week.
why don't we do the whole play and we'll just do the whole thing and do you have a Richard III scheduled yet? Because I'd like to do it now. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's like 9 hours
I've
long.
never done this before, yeah.
Lady Anne.
I'd like to do a Thursday evening of it, maybe in May.
one of his longest plays.
So we'll start it at 7 o'clock, even though it's the sun
Are you
goes
going
down at
Are
8.
you going to play master it? That sounds good.
Yeah, maybe I don't know what your schedule's like, maybe in May.
Yeah, I'm gone to the week of the 10th of May. After that, I'm back
Oh.
again for a while.
When are you back?
I think I'm back on the 10th.
Oh, you're back on the 10th.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so we'll do it maybe the next Thursday after the 10th. How's
Okay,
that?
let's see. That would be. Let me see. Let's see what's.
Oh yeah, I also do want to let people know we are doing this Saturday is going to be a reading of the true chronicle history of King Lear, which is of the first quarto.
All caps.
Aubrey Jones as Lear.
Oh, right.
Nice.
Gloucester, and that's
Who's Gloucester?
Jeffrey Owens.
Hey,
Are you-
Well, you know,
Michael, it looks like
he
the
did that in
20th
his
on a
class.
Thursday night looks good.
Hey, Michael, I like to do Lady Anne and Richard III.
Okay, got the request in. If that's
Okay,
Michael's, your
Thursday night. We'll do it
Around the
whatever that
20th,
Thursday
I'd be
is.
here around the 20th. Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. I don't want to say anything. Just
We'll
can we
see.
just like pencil it in for a second? I want to see something before we do it. I want to make sure I want to pick when the moon is in a good place. I'm sorry, I do.
we don't have to set it down, but we know.
Okay. I'll look at a Thursday night where the moon is, because I know that we did the Coriolanus reading, we did in a really good aspect. Mars, the moon, listen, the moon was in Gemini. Conjunct Mars in Gemini is words, ruled by Mercury. Mars, that's obvious.
don't worry, it's a virtual world. There's nothing real anymore. So
True, but it's fun anyway. And it worked. It was really good. Now, the Much Ado, where I don't know about you, but I had glitches galore. sound terrible, losing connections. We started it on avoid a course move.
Oh,
I knew you were an occultist.
That
And
Zoom.
this trial yesterday, the conviction, hello. I don't
Yeah.
care if they're planning on an appeal, it ain't gonna happen. This thing is fixed. It was on a fixed Leo moon where they said guilty on all 3 counts with a fixed sun in Taurus. This is fixed. There's no way, they won't even entertain an appeal. There's no, are they even thinking about it? I don't even know if they are. They shouldn't even bother.
I mean, it's like we have to wait 8 weeks till sentencing, but then he's going to get probably like 25 to 40 years at least. So, and
Good.
I don't know how long.
Good. No, he can't. Well, if 25 means he can first come up for parole in 25 years, if he lives that long.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, yeah, I think it's also, it depends how they if they do them.
He'll probably end up killing himself somehow.
Or he'll get killed in the population as
Well,
a,
they're keeping him very isolated for that reason. So basically, you know, he'll be on a suicide watch for a while, and then something will happen.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein.
well, yeah.
So, I think I'm gonna head out.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Good seeing you, John. And are you
Yeah.
trying to do Zoom on, what do you, it's on your computer that you can't turn the thing on? Because John's having to,
I have the computer, but the internet is down maybe for a couple of days, which was the problem. I could have used it. That's why I'm using the phone.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but
What's
this
interesting
computer
is
should be
your
down.
mute thing is lit up, and yet I can hear you.
'Cause
And your mute button's on.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. All right,
Yeah.
whatever. It's what it is. Zoom is what it is. So, yeah, let me know what's going on if there's
yeah, we have
who's-
other things coming up. May 1st is going to be Saturday, May 1st, the play of Sir Thomas More, which has a lot of roles in it. Eleanor is going to be play mastering it, and she needs lots of people for it. So please contact her about that. And I will hopefully be sending out more information about May shortly. And
Listen, I've never watched A Man for All Seasons. I think I've seen scenes from it. I want to watch it. That's basically the Thomas More story, isn't it? Is that what this deals with?
what it is.
Yeah.
Is that what this play does too? The same thing?
Peter,
'Cause I know-
Peter Brooks said is the greatest Shakespeare actor. Paul
Schofield.
Paul
Yes, I
Schofield. He
did
said Paul
see it a long
Schofield.
time ago. There's a great
Yeah.
scene. That was the beginning of the wars between France and England, right?
Yeah. And
Basically,
Peter
over
Brooks is
it
Paul
was basically
Schofield.
religion. They used religion, but it was really about real estate.
That was about just Henry getting married to whoever he wanted to, just
Exactly,
dumping
and then he didn't want the. So that's what does the play Sir Thomas More deal with the same subject?
no, I mean,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
but no, not really,
Okay.
not at all. He's going up, he's an up and comer. He puts on a big pageant at his house and he gets in and he plays things. And then things aren't so good because he won't do what Henry says and he ends up in the tower and then he's going to be executed. There's the chief reason to do it for Shakespeare is that there's the Mayday Scene, which is based on the historical thing of how Thomas More first came to prominence was as the sheriff when there were these riots against the immigrants because the people were complaining that the immigrants were taking their jobs.
He was a good guy.
And yeah, he was a good guy. And so this speech where he's like, where he sort of talks about like have some empathy for the immigrants is like Shakespeare's part of it. And that's what's worth doing. The rest of the play is sort of silly. I mean, it's sort of weird that you would think that under Elizabeth, you would be able to put on a play about Sir Thomas More, who her father executed. But they tried to sort of make it into a historical comedy. He's a nice guy, but anyways, it's
Now, was he
Monty
Catholic?
Python
Was Thomas More Catholic?
but thank you so much. Yeah, it was actually the whole Catholic thing.
So that was it. He didn't want to have allegiance to the king and the Church of England.
Right.
No divorce. Couldn't divorce.
Right.
Mhm.
That's right.
But it's
And
worth.
divorce.
It's definitely worth seeing the movie. Him and
Yeah.
Yeah. Man,
Robert Shaw,
yeah.
John.
Oh, I'm going to
Yeah,
watch
William
it.
Hurt.
Yes. Yes.
It's a goodie. It's
Got
a
the
goodie.
Academy Award.
It is. Yes. John Hurt is a very young man, which is so interesting to see.
Yeah, he's Richard Rich. Yes, everything.
Oh, he was great.
But
John Hurt.
Schofield is the ultimate Shakespeare actor, according to Peter Brook. And
He's good.
Peter Brook is God, right? So there you go.
Yeah.
Although he got terrible reviews as in one play, they said he wasn't very good in. What was it? Was it he played Othello in blackface? I guess.
Well, better than Olivier. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Well, that should be outlawed anyway.
Oh, yeah.
it just, yeah, we should try and avoid it whenever possible. And it's not.
So they used to always do
Yeah,
it.
there are actual black actors to play the role. Yes.
Yeah.
Plenty of
Wait,
them.
Uta Hagen left the theater after they blacklisted Paul Robeson and tried to do it the same with her for kissing him on stage, and that was her goodbye to the theater for a while. And it was the start of the McCarthy crap. And she was disgusted.
Then,
Yeah. Well, she was.
You can hear the
Massacre
recording
people.
online. You can actually hear recordings of it. It's pretty good. She's he's a bit sing-song, but he's had an incredible voice.
yeah,
And she was
it's an
so
old
good.
time style, an older time style. Olivier is an older time style. It doesn't translate totally into modern stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe let's do it.
It was the time.
Yeah.
It was the time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, so yeah, there is a lot of great stuff and a lot of things that are sort of somewhat influenced by Shakespeare as the play Man for All Seasons.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we do have his histories, and his histories are not always the most accurate history, but they're a lot of fun dramatically. So if anyone else has any other sort of Shakespeare insights to share, maybe I should just wrap this up with the Tempest. Our revels now are ended, and these I foretold
And
you
Mike-
all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air.
And Michael, if we're gonna do, whenever they do Richard III, I like to do Lady Anne.
Okay.
Thanks.
And
Jackie, you'll do Elizabeth.
I'd like to do Elizabeth again.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. John, do you want to be
I
in
don't
it?
know what I'm saying.
It's going to be an
I don't
evening
know.
performance.
I don't know. Whatever. There's so many queens in that play. It's just like, yeah, there's lots of good stuff
It's
in there.
nice to see you, John. We haven't seen you in a long time.
We'll do it Thursday. It's going to be in a Thursday evening. I'm going to double check. It'll be sometime in mid-May.
Well, send out the info, and
Right.
then it should work out.
Are you on Facebook?
No. No social media.
I'll reach out to you. I'll get your email.
I have his email. The
Okay.
13th and 20th of
Jackie
May are
sends me
Thursday.
emails about different things. Yes.
I have John's email. I could send it
Yeah,
to you.
and she sends me emails about different things. Yes. Thank you, Jackie.
No,
I
well,
want to ask Alex Chilton to play the part in this major role. I don't know which part yet.
Anyways, but yeah, so I haven't done much for May other than got on the May 1st. I don't know what I'm doing Saturday, May 8th. And don't really have many things set for Thursdays yet, so we sure can do Richard III on some Thursday. But we're doing Merchant of Venice on May 15th, which David Cedar is playing mastering with Asher Susswine as Shylock. And on May 22nd, we're doing Perkin Warbeck.
Is Merchant all cast?
What?
Is Merchant all cast?
I don't know. You could reach out to David.
I'll reach out to David. I think we mentioned this.
Yeah, and Perkin Warbeck, which is a play by John Ford, which is
Right.
about a pretender to the throne under Henry VII, which is also, it's interesting because even though it's called Warbeck, it's really dealing with Henry VII, who we don't really get to see very much of other than as Richmond at the end of Richard III. But this person who claimed to be one of the, I think actually claimed to be one of the princes who had been murdered in the Tower. That he was like, oh yes, but I wasn't actually murdered in the Tower. I was escaped and I was brought up by these other people, you know. So
Oh, that sounds good. I wonder why Shakespeare never bothered to write about him, huh? Henry VII.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing to write about.
Well, I think there's a hell of a lot to write about. I mean, historically,
This may be it.
Much more significant king than his more flamboyant and showy son, Henry VIII. But he really did so much in terms of consolidating the power and of the crown and sort of centralizing the government under his administration, the power of the king, as opposed to basically it had been much more the dukes. All the dukes had their own armies, and whenever you need an army, you just get the dukes to help and bring their own armies. And he was sort of like, no, we should really have our own sort of like the royal army. And so he was the Tudor. Yeah, he was a very, very significant king, but who had a big impact, but liked to do it more from the shadows than going off the way.
Wasn't dramatic enough, for light. Yeah.
Wow.
So, alrighty. Well then, and like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. Such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep.
Oh, yes.
The Tempest.